Today I'm going to show you guys how to use the behavior flow on Google Analytics. So what is the behavior flow? The behavior flow really is a tool in Google Analytics that allows you to see the path of which users take in order to get certain actions or to get to certain pages on your site. Now, I find it incredibly helpful because it gives me some insight onto what the behavior looks like, or if a certain part of Google Analytics is just inefficient. So I'm gonna go ahead and dive right in and start this tutorial. Okay, so to navigate to the behavior flow, you're gonna first wind up at your dashboard for Google Analytics, the homepage, and what you're gonna do is simply click behavior and then behavior flow. Pretty easy, I know. And now this is pretty much what the behavior flow looks like. It is able to show you the actions that people are taking in aggregate. So obviously there's probably very customizable paths, but you're able to control that level of detail. What I generally tell people is try to show either middle of the ground between show fewer connections and show more connections. But obviously depending on what your experience is, the least experience you have, show fewer connections to make it simple for yourself. The more experience you have, show more connections because you're going to be able to grasp how to use this tool better. So what you're going to see here, what I have set right now is we're looking at landing pages, and specifically I'm using a segment that I created, and if you don't know how to create segments, I have another tutorial video on how to do that. But we have a segment for paid media traffic, and really what I'm interested in identifying right now is what pages are the most effective for my Google ads. I'm testing a bunch of different landing pages right now, and I want to know what has the least drop-off. So right now I'm at an aggregate view of the paid traffic. Most of my paid traffic ends up at the home page. 59% of the traffic, or 60% of it, goes through and 40% drops off. And then they go into particular product pages. Sometimes they're actually going to fill out a form or a quote. And then some of them even have second and third interactions that you can see going down the line. And you're going to notice that the green starts to get smaller and smaller. And that's because people drop off naturally. So the more barriers to get to that quote or that checkout, the more likelihood is the drop-off is going to be for your campaigns. So in this case, it's really important that we have as least interactions as possible. But what I'm looking for specifically today is to understand a little bit about which campaign, where they're going. So in this case, what I've done is I'm going to change my dimension. And what's really nice is that you can really filter by all sorts of dimensions that are in the Google Analytics suite. In this case, I want to go by campaign. So it's going to load up my campaign. You're going to see now, instead of the landing pages and the ad IDs, it's being segmented by the campaigns itself. And now I'm really interested, this is a lot of data obviously, it can get really confusing, you see there's a lot of things being crossed. I'm just interested in what this campaign is doing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here, and I'm only going to highlight traffic through here. Now I'm starting to get someplace because now I've gotten rid of the other traffic, and I'm starting to see a little bit of more clear picture of what's going on. I can see drop-offs and how much traffic passes through. But if you notice something, I still have the same data that I did before. The through traffic is 60%, the drop-off is 40%. So you're probably asking yourself, well, I need to understand that from a campaign level. So there's another setting that we can go into. We're going to go ahead and click here. Now we're only going to view, or rather, yes, we're only going to view segment. And now we kind of get a better picture. Now everything else is gone. We just see this campaign. Now we can understand the flow through, right? Ultimately, we want people to get to the start here the most, right? So I'm going to highlight traffic through here. And tells us a really interesting story. And basically, what the data is telling us is that more often than not, users that are landing on our homepage are actually going to that start here page, which is how they request the quote. So that's about 20%. Then our second page is 12%, 10%, another 10%, and the rest of this is really, it's more than 100 pages, so it doesn't matter. So what I might start to say to myself is that on average, 20% of my users are actually getting to the sign up page by just the home page. So what I'd rather do from the data, I'd probably just want to make sure that my traffic ends up on the home page, because in this case it's really laid out nicely. It gives a bunch of options and it gets them to complete the form much quicker. That's not to say that they don't visit other pages afterwards, but I want to increase my chances of likelihood of them filling out that form. So there you go. There's a perfect example of how you would use user flow to change or adjust your marketing based off of user data. So if you have any questions, definitely ask in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer those questions. And just remember that this was just one example. You can use it for a lot of other different things. And always try to keep things customizable to you. Think about the questions that you need to answer, and then use the tools around you to try to get those answers for you rather than having to guess. Until next time, thanks guys.